piece of work.
We all know him as Jay-Z, but Sean Carter's name sparked serious debate in hip-hop circles. While fans crown him one of the greatest ever, plenty of rappers see him very differently, calling him a snake, a hater, even a backstabber, from Nas to 50 Cent. Love him or not, Jay-Z has built a reputation that stirred tension across the culture. One of the biggest clashes tied to his name is easily the most legendary rivalry in hip-hop history. This was Nas versus Jay-Z, a showdown that exploded in the early 2000s over the unofficial King of New York crown, and it permanently reshaped competitive rap after the notorious B.I.G. was no longer active in the scene. In the late 90s, New York hip-hop felt wide open. Brooklyn had lost its leading voice, and artists from every borough were pushing to step up. Jay-Z represented Brooklyn, Nas held Queens, and years of quiet lyrical jabs slowly built pressure. That tension finally burst when Jay-Z performed Takeover at Hot 97 Summer Jam 2001, openly challenging Nas and questioning his momentum since Illmatic. But Nas wasn't about to let that slide at all. When he responded with Ether in late 2001, it wasn't just a reply, it was a full-on lyrical shutdown. Nas questioned Jay-Z's originality and authenticity, throwing sharp lines that fans still quote today, including claims that Jay-Z copied Styles and played the role of a follower instead of a leader. When Ether dropped, the culture froze. Radio stations ran it non-stop. Conversations everywhere shifted, and most people agreed Nas had delivered something unforgettable. In later interviews, Nas explained that Jay-Z's confidence and public claims to Biggie's legacy rubbed him the wrong way. To Nas, it felt like disrespect toward a figure he deeply admired, and he felt compelled to speak up.
Dog, and he had enough respect to even talk face to face. You gotta talk through the crack in the door, because you in there with a minor.
Years later, the two finally made peace, sharing the stage in 2005 and even collaborating on tracks like Black Republican. Still, during the peak of their rivalry, the tension was very real. Then there's 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson has been openly critical of Jay-Z for over 20 years. Their history traces back to the late 90s when 50 was trying to break into the industry. Friction grew after Jay-Z referenced moments from 50's past in his lyrics, which didn't sit right with him. Jay-Z was definitely on that list, but most people don't realize the tension between him and 50 Cent went way deeper than just music exchanges. Years later, the situation flared up again in a big way. In 2022, 50 publicly claimed that Jay-Z, through his role connected to the NFL partnership, tried to keep him off the Super Bowl halftime show.
A piece of work, man. He always put somebody in front of him. When Jada came for him, he put Beanie in front of him. And Beanie went back and forth with Jadakiss. When Cam came for him, he put True Life in front of him. And they went back and forth.
According to 50, the blame was officially placed on the NFL, but he believed the decision came from elsewhere. He even said Eminem had to step in and push for his inclusion before it finally happened. 50 didn't hold back in interviews either. He criticized Jay-Z's sound, joking that his music felt more suited for golf courses than the streets, implying Jay-Z had lost touch with his original audience. He also openly expressed frustration with Jay-Z's long-standing influence in the industry. That tension spilled onto social media, where 50 kept the commentary going with non-stop jokes and trolling throughout recent years. Now, here's a twist. The next clash involved a true hip-hop pioneer, LL Cool J. Their disagreement traces back to the early 2000s when Jay-Z was running Def Jam. As label president, Jay-Z's leadership style didn't sit well with LL, who publicly questioned his credibility and business approach. LL Cool J had been part of Def Jam since 1985, making him one of the label's original pillars. So when Jay-Z stepped in as president years later, and at a much earlier stage in his career, tensions naturally formed. LL felt overlooked as a pioneer and shared in interviews that Jay-Z seemed more focused on pushing his own brand than uplifting the label's longtime artists. From LL's perspective, that frustration made sense. He helped build Def Jam's legacy, yet felt sidelined under new leadership. That disappointment showed up in his 2006 track Queens, where he dropped pointed lines expressing how disconnected he felt from the label's new direction. Many fans interpreted those lyrics as LL questioning business practices and calling out what he saw as a lack of respect from the new regime. For LL, it wasn't just personal, it was about Def Jam losing the hunger and authenticity that once defined it. Those frustrations eventually led him to step away from the label in 2006. Now things take a serious turn with another legendary name, Tupac Shakur. While their tension was brief, it was still notable. During the mid-90s, competitive lyrics reflected broader industry rivalries of the time, and Jay-Z's name was included in that conversation, highlighting just how intense that era of hip-hop really was. To really get this situation, you have to understand the era. This all unfolded during a time of intense competition between different regional hip-hop scenes. Tupac was closely connected to a West Coast label and its leadership, and he viewed many artists tied to New York as part of the opposing side, according to multiple sources. At the time, Jay-Z wasn't officially signed to the New York label Tupac often referenced, but his close association with Biggie and the Brooklyn movement placed him in that circle by default. That alone was enough for Tupac to see him as part of a larger industry divide, even as Jay-Z was still rising. Tupac's mindset was shaped by earlier industry conflicts, and he openly expressed distrust toward figures connected to the East Coast scene. As a result, Jay-Z's name appeared in competitive lyrics reflecting the tension of that period, highlighting just how intense and emotional the environment had become. What makes this even more interesting is that Jay-Z reportedly recorded a response but chose never to release it, later showing respect by acknowledging Tupac's influence through music references and tributes. Still, many fans believe that if circumstances had been different, this rivalry could have grown into one of hip-hop's most talked-about clashes. This one hits close to home. We're talking about Beanie Sigel, someone who was once considered family inside the Rockefeller circle, not just an artist, but a brother meant to be there for the long run. But as the music business shows time and time again, loyalty doesn't always last. Beanie's fallout with Jay-Z surfaced around 2009, rooted in frustration over money issues and feeling taken advantage of. He had put in years of work for the label, rising alongside Jay-Z as a key voice from Philly and a major part of the brand's early success. Things shifted when Beanie faced legal problems and spent time away. After that, he publicly accused Jay-Z of using his ideas during earlier career moments and said their bond was completely broken. Whether those claims were true or not, the fact that Beanie voiced them showed how damaged the relationship had become. In interviews, Beanie described feeling abandoned after his release, especially when Jay-Z offered limited support during a difficult moment. From Beanie's perspective, this wasn't just business. It felt like family turning its back, and that pain clearly stayed with him. For Beanie Sigel, the fallout felt deeply personal. This was someone he believed he had stood beside through everything, only to feel abandoned when he needed support the most. By 2009, Beanie released music criticizing Jay-Z's character, portraying him as unoriginal and distant from former friends. One controversial line suggested Beanie knew private information that could change public perception, hinting at personal matters tied to Jay-Z's family. Beanie later admitted he regretted taking things that far, but by then, the relationship was already beyond repair. Now let's switch gears to one of the most entertaining rivalries in Jay-Z's career, Cam'ron. During the mid-2000s, tensions flared as Rockefeller Records began to fracture. Cam openly mocked
us with all the information, saying that he's going to be here, there. And after all that good shit, and he said no. But it was like the way he said it. And he put his head down, he was like, no, I've never been crushed like that.
Jay-Z's image and age in music, but the real issue centered on Dame Dash. Cam believed Jay-Z took control of the label while leaving Dame behind. And since Cam was loyal to Dame, he took it personally. Cam went on to accuse Jay-Z of borrowing ideas from multiple legends, painting him as someone who reused styles rather than creating his own. And trust me, Cam didn't hold back at all. Cam didn't stop there at all. In 2007, he dropped Swagger Jacker, a track built around lyrics he claimed Jay-Z had borrowed from other artists. What really made this rivalry unforgettable was how personal it became. Cam openly joked about Jay-Z's look, age, and fashion choices, turning the whole thing into non-stop entertainment. Years later, Cam doubled down in interviews, saying Jay-Z cared more about business than hip-hop culture. That opinion echoed what many old school fans have felt for years. Whether people agreed or not, Cam made it clear he truly believed it. Eventually, the tension cooled off. Around 2015, Cam appeared at one of Jay-Z's shows, and in recent podcasts, he confirmed they've spoken privately and are on good terms now. Still, during its peak, this was one of hip-hop's most talked about rivalries, and you can't mention Cam without Jim Jones. Jim also took aim at Jay-Z in the mid-2000s, criticizing his music direction and industry power. His frustration wasn't just about songs. It was about loyalty, politics, and feeling pushed aside in the business. Jim Jones chose Dame Dash's side during the Rockefeller split, and that choice shaped everything that followed. In later interviews, Jim explained that loyalty to Dame created distance between him and Jay-Z, who saw that move as a betrayal. Jay-Z responded musically, flipping Jim's hit song into a lyrical jab that compared Jim to a background player watching a superstar shine. Instead of taking offense, Jim embraced it. He later said the attention actually benefited him, turning the moment into a win financially and publicly. Over time, the tension cooled, and in 2017, Jim even signed a management deal with Roc Nation. Still, during the Dipset era, Jim was firmly standing with his crew against Jay-Z. Now this next chapter hits differently, because it involves DMX. Earl Simmons and Jay-Z shared a long, complicated history. They famously faced off in a competitive rap moment early in their careers, creating a rivalry that never fully faded. Despite that, they collaborated, toured together, and shared major stages in the late 90s.
I told y'all in 2002, and y'all ain't believe me. I told y'all that was a crab, and y'all ain't believe me.
DMX firmly believed that Jay-Z slowed down his album release and didn't give him the promotion he felt he deserved. In a 2012 interview, DMX recalled a phone call where he felt Jay-Z was pushing him aside, making him question whether it was business strategy rather than support. What made the situation even more painful was the emotional side. DMX felt betrayed by someone he once considered a brother, saying he believed their bond was unbreakable. He later suggested that Jay-Z took advantage of his personal struggles instead of helping him through them, which clearly left deep scars. Even years later, that frustration surfaced publicly, showing the hurt never fully faded. Sadly, DMX passed away in 2021, just as the two had reportedly begun repairing their relationship. Jay-Z later helped clear DMX's remaining Def Jam obligations and appeared on his posthumous album, showing a moment of reconciliation. Next up is another Queens legend, Prodigy of Mobb Deep. His issues with Jay-Z trace back to Takeover, where Jay-Z publicly mocked a childhood photo of Prodigy during a major live performance. Prodigy consistently questioned Jay-Z's image, arguing that his hustler persona felt carefully crafted rather than lived. He voiced these opinions openly, including in his autobiography, where he criticized Jay-Z for chasing commercial success instead of staying rooted in hip-hop's original spirit. That criticism echoed what other artists had said before, but Prodigy was especially direct. The infamous childhood photo incident stayed with him for years and remained a source of frustration until Prodigy passed away in 2017. It's a clear reminder of how deeply personal these rivalries became and how long that tension could last. Now, this next chapter is especially important because it involves the person who helped launch Jay-Z's career, Jaz-O. As Jay-Z's early mentor, Jaz-O taught him how to rap, brought him on tour, and featured him on early records. Without that early guidance, Jay-Z's path might have looked very different. Their fallout began in the early 2000s after a disputed label deal. Jaz-O felt the terms weren't fair and believed Jay-Z didn't support him when it mattered most. There is a silver lining here. After more than 15 years of tension, Jay-Z and Jaz-O eventually reconciled around 2017. Jay-Z even referenced Jaz-O during live performances, signaling that old wounds had finally healed. It was a long road, but peace was ultimately made. Now let's talk about a different kind of conflict involving Jadakiss from the LRX. During the early 2000s, tension between Rockefeller and the LRX ran high. Jadakiss aimed sharp lyrics at Jay-Z in freestyles, though much of the back and forth played out indirectly through Beanie Sigel, who represented Rockefeller at the time. Jadakiss later explained that frustrations over studio sessions, tight schedules, and business disagreements added fuel to the situation. He felt Jay-Z avoided direct confrontation, letting others respond instead. Still, by 2005, things cooled down when Jadakiss unexpectedly joined Jay-Z on stage, publicly ending the dispute with a handshake and mutual respect. Looking back, Jadakiss has since described the situation as competitive hip-hop energy rather than personal bitterness. Jay-Z played a key role early in Foxy Brown's career, discovering her as a teenager and helping introduce her to the mainstream through Def Jam in the mid-1990s. They collaborated on several successful records, making her one of the standout female voices of that era. However, over the years, rumors and speculation about tension between the two have circulated widely. In the early 2000s, Foxy released music that fans interpreted as critical of Jay-Z, expressing feelings of being mistreated and overlooked after their professional relationship faded. Those claims sparked long-running debate, though none were ever formally proven. Foxy's career later slowed, and some observers speculated that industry politics may have played a role, while others pointed to personal and label challenges common in the business. In recent years, Foxy has addressed rumors online, pushing back against narratives that try to involve her in ongoing controversies. The situation remains one of the most debated chapters in Jay-Z's history, largely because of its longevity and unresolved questions rather than confirmed facts. Joe Budden's story is often cited as a warning about navigating industry politics. In the early 2000s, while working on Pump It Up, Budden asked Jay-Z for a feature verse. Jay-Z reportedly requested a very high fee, far beyond what Budden could afford at the time, so the collaboration never happened. Things became awkward when Jay-Z later appeared on the same beat in a freestyle that included competitive lines many interpreted as a jab. Budden felt the moment worked against him, especially since he was signed to Def Jam during a period when Jay-Z later became the label's president. Budden has since said he believes his momentum slowed during that era, though he's also acknowledged the freestyle as a major hip-hop moment. Over the years, he's spoken critically, but also respectfully, recognizing Jay-Z's influence while still feeling disappointed about how things played out. Finally, there's the game. His tension with Jay-Z dates back to the mid-2000s after feeling dismissed publicly. The game responded through music and interviews, questioning Jay-Z's longevity and relevance, which sparked years of back-and-forth commentary between the two. While competitive, the situation reflected ongoing clashes between generations and regions in hip-hop. The track crossed personal lines and kept the tension alive for years. The game openly criticized Jay-Z's image, status, and confidence, continuing to reference the situation long after Jay-Z chose not to respond. According to the game, the friction began when he once asked Jay-Z for advice about staying relevant, only to feel brushed off with a short, dismissive response. That moment clearly stuck with him. Over time, the game admitted part of his motivation came from wanting attention, but he's also said his frustration with Jay-Z's attitude was real. What made this situation stand out was Jay-Z's silence. By rarely responding, Jay-Z signaled he didn't see the rivalry as equal, and that lack of acknowledgement may have hit harder than any lyric ever could. Ironically, the game later said even being referenced by Jay-Z felt like a win in his eyes. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.